Welcome to today's Explainer. Right now, we're going to run a system audit on something you probably use every single day without even thinking about it, and that's your professional vocabulary. In today's globalized workforce, absolute clarity is your most valuable asset. But outdated, gender-coded language? It actually creates a ton of unnecessary friction. Honestly, it's a lot like trying to run state-of-the-art software on a decades-old legacy operating system. It just lags. So by the end of this explainer, you're going to see exactly how updating your vocabulary creates a really clean, functional mesh that elevates your entire professional register.
Here's our System Boot Up diagnostic menu for today. We're going to quickly run through the cost of defaults, the role-centric matrix, handling unknown subjects, auditing for scale, and finally, unified design. Let's jump right in.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the cost of defaults.
So in any system, your defaults are just your automatic settings, right? Well, for centuries, our linguistic defaults have been heavily gendered, and that creates literal structural glitches in a modern corporate environment. Think about those legacy defaults we're all used to: policeman, craftsman, businessman. Now contrast those with crisp modern system upgrades like police officer, artisan, or business executive. These upgraded terms are totally role-centric. They focus purely on the actual function being performed, which optimizes your talent acquisition engine without assuming anything about a person's identity.
Now, the root cause of this linguistic glitch is what experts call the generic masculine. It's basically the historical default of using words like man or he to refer to people of an unspecified sex. This bias was actually hard-coded into law, like with the UK's 1850 Interpretation Act. But let's be real here. Relying on a standard from 1850 to run a diverse modern operating environment? That simply doesn't serve us anymore.
Moving right along to Section 2, the role-centric matrix.
The goal here is to construct a matrix of upgraded vocabulary that functions perfectly, like modular gears locking together inside a high-performance engine. These are direct upgrades that you can actually implement today. Manpower shifts to workforce or personnel. Businessman becomes executive or professional. Spokesman upgrades to spokesperson, and chairman simply becomes chair. We are literally stripping away unnecessary metadata here, so the focus stays 100% on the function itself.
And look, this isn't just some theoretical exercise for HR. Elite institutions have already hard-coded these updates into their systems. For instance, the European Parliament's official guidelines mandate terms like flight attendant over stewardess, which establishes a definitive new benchmark. I mean, if it's the standard for international diplomacy, it absolutely should be the standard for your internal emails and strategic decks.
Up next, Section 3, handling unknown subjects.
So, a super common glitch in day-to-day operations happens when you just don't know the gender of the end user. The old patch for this was that really clunky he or she binary. Instead, let's look at a much more streamlined protocol. Step 1, a user flags an error. Step 2, their identity is unknown. Step 3, you just deploy the singular they. For example, if a user flags an asset error, they should receive a response. It's clean, it's totally scalable, and it removes friction entirely.
Now, I know some grammar purists out there might be throwing a system error right about now. But actually, the singular they is a legacy function that's been validated by centuries of use. It literally dates back to the Middle Ages. It was used by literary giants. We're talking Chaucer, Shakespeare, Jane Austen. And today, major style guides like the APA completely approve it as grammatically correct. So it's a robust, time-tested tool. Definitely use it.
All right, let's dive into Section 4, auditing content for scale.
Deploying this kind of standard across an entire organization requires a macro-level audit for boundless scale. Imagine just running an automated scan over all your corporate scripts to replace restrictive pronoun blocks. Mankind gets swapped for humankind or humanity. Man-made becomes artificial. A layman is now a layperson. And one of my absolute favorites, courtesy of the European Parliament, instead of a committee of wise men, deploy an advisory panel. These are small, surgical edits, but they instantly elevate the professionalism of your content.
The core logic behind all this is summarized perfectly by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. Their guide states, language and images powerfully reflect and influence attitudes, behaviors, and perceptions. They shape people's reality. Language doesn't just describe your organization's reality, it essentially engineers it from the ground up. If you want a forward-thinking, highly adaptable organization, you have to write the code, the language that actually supports that reality. Global entities like the UNODC view this system upgrade as a highly critical compliance standard.
It really isn't about just being polite, it's about being maximally effective. Their guidelines specifically stress omitting gendered words entirely when they're irrelevant. So instead of saying, discussion is fruitful when everyone contributes his ideas, you optimize that down to, discussion is fruitful when everyone contributes ideas. See? Tighter, cleaner, and universally applicable.
And that brings us to our final module, Section 5, Unified Design, Boundless Reach.
Look, when an organization standardizes its language, it completely removes friction, ensuring your reach becomes truly boundless. Unified design means every single piece of communication operates on the exact same high-performance standard. Picture a diverse corporate boardroom nodding in total alignment. That alignment? It happens because the communication mesh is clean. Gender-inclusive language treats all operators equally, which ensures the focus remains entirely on the ideas and ultimately the results.
So, I want to leave you with this final, decisive thought to help you run a diagnostic on your own environment. Take a look at your next email, your next job posting, or your next policy document, and ask yourself, is your organizational language operating on outdated legacy defaults, or is it engineered for the future? The system upgrade is available right now. It's time to install it.